You're watching Force 13's live streaming service.
Hello and welcome to Force 13 AU Live for yet another night of live commentary on two storms that we've been monitoring here in the Australian region, those being Category 1 Cyclone Seroja, which is heading towards the Western Australian coastline, and Tropical Low 23U as well. Both of those systems we've been watching quite closely. With me tonight is the Force 13 AU Director, David Tones. It's just myself and him tonight, but I know he has a lot of information that he wants to give. He's been keeping a very close eye on this stuff, as have I. David, what are your latest thoughts on the situation?
Well, as we mentioned yesterday, hi to the viewers. We're still in the, last month of the 21 cyclone season, 2021. And I think we are definitely going to go out with a bang. And in addition to the two systems that we are covering over to the rest of WA, there's the third system that we briefly touched on yesterday around the northwest of the Cocos-Keeling Islands. And we have 27 Invest. 27S.
We have 91S is another invest that's out there as well now as well.
Yes, I have fun and games sometimes with all the numbers. But in addition to what's happening over there to the rest of Australia, we're keeping a close eye on the Coral Sea region from Honiara, Solomon Islands, right down to the southern end of New Caledonia, and we'll cover that. But a special thank you to those who have linked to the AU channel. I couldn't have done the outstanding job without the help of our international members, such as Thomas and Thomas, the Bureau of Meteorology's Tropical Cyclone Warning Centre's latest update about 9 a.m. WA time. The Tropical Cyclone Category 1 Seroja, and it was graded from 2 due to atmospheric conditions. Tropical low located at 8 a.m. near 16.4 degrees south, 105.8 degrees east. That's about 660 kilometres south of. No, sorry, this is the tropical low. Apology for that. Okay, Category 1, 8 a.m., 13.1 degrees south, 118.2 degrees east. It's 690 kilometres northwest of Broome and 1070 kilometres north-northeast of Exmouth, and is currently tracking southwest at 10 kilometres an hour. The tropical cyclone will track to the southwest over the next few days over open waters north of Western Australia, and forecast to re-intensify on a Friday and Saturday, and on Sunday it's expected to turn to the southeast towards the west coast, making landfall most likely later Sunday or Monday. And the cyclone is not expected to affect Western Australia for at least the next 2 days. So, Thomas, the information has changed, and what the Bureau is saying is forecast to re-intensify. And I think the cone, I haven't looked at the cone, whether they're going for Category 3.
Yeah, they are. They're going for Category 3.
Okay, so I think we'll see a cyclone watch being issued. When do you think, Thomas?
I mean, I could see a cyclone watch as soon as tomorrow being issued for some areas of the Western Australian coast. It depends on what happens here. Again, there's still some uncertainty with the interaction between Seroja and 23U. It's going to determine the path of this, but I don't see any cyclone warnings going into place, that's for sure. But I think we could see some watches across areas of the western coast tomorrow.
Yes.
So we'll just have to see. I'd say if you're in Exmouth, you're not quite out of the woods just yet, but things are luckily starting to look better over in that neck of the woods. So definitely some good news there, to say the very least. I would like to go over our key messages product. We came out with this earlier today, just talking about what exactly to expect with Seroja. So, despite leaving Indonesia, the outer rain bands of Seroja will still bring showers to Lesser Sandia Islands overnight. We did see that, although this is really starting to move away now. So, we're really not going to see much rainfall, much more rainfall for Indonesia anymore as a result of this storm. On the west coast of Australia, an estimated 10 feet of storm surge. And that could be about 10 meters. Not 10 meters, I'm sorry. That's going to be about 3 meters of storm surge. And destructive winds will affect the land areas storms expected to hit. So again, you could have 3-meter storm surge with this. Heavy rainfall in excess of 250 millimeters in some spots is also expected, according to our own Kenneth Chan. He is one of our cyclone analysts. And torrential rainfall and storm surge will cause serious flooding, especially in low-lying areas. So if you're anywhere really within those low impacts or above, you need to be watching this closely. On to our forecast for this thing. I literally just made this. This just got done 5 minutes before the stream began, so this is about as recent as it gets. We have a 165 kilometer per hour peak. For those of you that are international viewers, that's 115 miles an hour. So Category 3 Saffir-Simpson, Category 4 Australian. We are still expecting that Category 4 Australian scale peak. And then we are expecting a landfall now in Western Australia. And you can see the very, very wide range of areas. Most of the western coast of Australia is within the cone of uncertainty at this point. For the 5-day point, and a 120 kilometer per hour landfall is the current expectation. So a Category 3 Australian scale landfall is the current expectation. That's very, very important to note. We're still expecting, despite the unexpected weakening today, an extremely powerful cyclone to strike the western coast of Australia. With that being said, regardless of just how strong this is, whether it's a Category 2, 3, or for a bit of 4, the expectation is going to be the same. Strong winds, heavy rainfall, serious flooding, and we're really going to be able to hone in on which locations specifically along this rather wide chunk of the Western Australian coast need to be watching. And, I mean, we're going to be taking a look at a pretty significant swath of the Western Australian coast here under threat right now. So we're talking basically anywhere from Exmouth, Learmouth, Coral Bay, Carrion. I mean, if you're down in Perth, you're still watching this. You could take a direct hit from this even if you're all the way down in Perth. So this goes anywhere from really Perth all the way up to Exmouth, and even places farther south. Like, you're still, if you're in Rockingham, if you're in Margaret River, if you're in those areas, you're still not completely safe from this. This could really make the journey quite far south. We'll just have to see what exactly does happen with it, but this could take quite the journey. David, how far south do you think this thing could get?
I think it'll go over Perth, and it'll track across South Australia and head in a southeasterly direction over Melbourne into the Tasman Sea.
Ah, all right. Well, we'll see if that happens, but there you go. That's the AU director's take on the storm there. So right over Perth, definitely a possibility that's within our cone. And we can also take a look at the Joint Typhoon Warning Center's forecast, which we haven't looked at just yet, showing Perth within that cone as well. They have a much farther north track, it looks like, than what we have, but they are forecasting a 105-knot peak. That is 120 miles per hour, so that is slightly stronger than what we are anticipating. That is a 175 kilometer per hour peak. So, again, stronger than what we're anticipating. Regardless, a Category 4 on the Australian scale, a very dangerous situation. Regardless, but Joint Typhoon Warning Center expecting a Category 1 Saffir-Simpson equivalent storm within the next couple of days as this strengthens rather quickly. And we could see this get to upper end Category 4 Australian scale. We'll just have to see what happens here with this storm. Before we do get into 23U, we do have a quick question here. Could Seroja peak as a Category 2 Saffir-Simpson because of how much shear has affected this storm? I'd say certainly. David, do you think that the storm not really strengthening as much as we thought it was going to is going to hinder it in the long run, or do you think it's still going to get really powerful? All right, well, continuing to look at the storm, again, pretty powerful storm we're expecting. I think it's pretty safe to say it'll get above Category 2 Saffir-Simpson. And David, would you agree with me on Cat 4 AU being on the cards? Right, I think we might be having some issues on David's end there. But we're going to continue to go over things. Here is 23U. So 23U, we have it at 16.2 south. This is as of a while ago. This was made about 10 hours ago, but it still gives you the general picture of what the expectation is. The expectation generally is going to be that we're going to be looking at a stalling, meandering storm over the next couple of days, and then it's going to shoot southward. It's likely going to weaken. I'm even thinking it could weaken on our estimates to a tropical low. We have it as a Category 1 right now, and the Bureau of Meteorology has it down to a low already, but they anticipate that Category 1 strength. We anticipate it'll come back to that as well before it does ultimately weaken off the coast. We don't expect it to make it past 4 days, really, at this point. Here's the Joint Typhoon Warning Center's cone. They're expecting this to shoot rather far south as well, but again, not making it beyond those 4 days. They're expecting a bit of strengthening here, although up to 45 knots, so that would be, I believe, a Category 1. Yeah, that's Category 1, minimal Category 1, 65 kilometers an hour. And that is definitely something that we're going to be looking at for sure. And then finally, the Bureau of Meteorology stuff. David, I do see that you have returned. We're going over...
Yeah, apology on that, Thomas. Viewers, I have a sick wife, and she needed my attention, so that's why there was a bit of a gap. So the Bureau of Meteorology, Thomas, I'll post their latest graphic for Saroj, but the Joint Typhoon Warning Center is saying that we could see another 2 periods of intensification re Seroja, but it's a binary interaction between with the other system. Now the Tropical Cyclone Warning Center will update 3 p.m. local time, which will make it about 1700 hours Eastern Standard Time, and Thomas, UK time, I think they're 11 hours behind us, so probably around 18 UTC. So, but they will update the Tropical Cyclone 3-day outlook at 2:30 p.m, which will make it about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. These time zones, they are confusing, but I'll just bring up the... Actually, I'm just going for the track chart, and I've got it there for you, Thomas.
Yeah, we got it pulled up. But
so the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, I think there's a spread of, I
Yeah.
think, 200 nautical miles.
It's a very large spread, and again, I was talking about earlier how we have a very large spread of the Western Australia coast here. We were talking about a little bit earlier as well just how strong this could get. So I did want to get your thoughts. How strong do you think this could get? Because we're currently expecting 165 kilometer per hour peak here at Force 13. Joint Typhoon Warning Center actually has gone above us with a 175 kilometer per hour peak. How high do you think this thing could go?
Well, it's going to be the interaction with the other tropical low, and as we know, Saroj and Thomas, you're more knowledgeable to me, but what I want to ask is, Seroja would really suck the energy out of the other tropical low, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's the expectation, is that that's going to happen.
I would probably go a little bit higher, so I would favour the Joint Typhoon Warning Centre, because as I mentioned, they're going for, well, Category 1 to Category 2 with further intensification, question mark beside that. And then how high is it going to go? And are there going to be any blocking barriers? Now we know that I think it was wind shear, vertical wind shear. So viewers, I'm just looking at what the centre is saying. A marginal favourable environment with moderate 15 to 20 knots vertical wind shear offset by difluent flow aloft. The cyclone is forecast to track along the northwestern periphery of the subtropical ridge position over Western Australia through to 72 hours. Then it will turn poleward through to 120 hours as a deep mid-latitude trough approaches Australia. And that model spread was 210 at 72 hours, lending moderate confidence to the centre's forecast track. And it's forecast to intensify slowly through the next 36 hours. But it is rapidly expected to rapidly intensify after 48 hours. The vertical wind shear relaxes and poleward outflow improves.
Yeah, certainly.
And so they are the key points. So now I haven't looked at the HWRF solution, but I don't think wind shear, as I mentioned, I think is to reduce. I haven't looked at the graphics, and sea surface temperature is not an issue. It's 29, 30.
Yeah. Sea surface temperatures are going to be great for this.
But that 210 nautical mile spread. So that, as I think you said, Exmouth down to south of Perth. So Perth is definitely in the zone, in the cone, and it's just a matter of what intensity it's going to be approaching landfall.
Yeah, but we are expecting a landfall, and again, it could be a pretty powerful one. Someone in chat is asking about that HWRF solution you mentioned. The HWRF is our high-resolution hurricane research model. We can actually show this on the screen, what it's showing, and we can talk about just how realistic it is. The first thing that I'd like to note is that it does overinflate the current wind speeds. It does have some strange initialization, which basically means, in layman's terms, that it didn't quite get the current conditions right, or the current state of the storm right. So the rest of the model run might be a little off, but we can still take a look at it. It still has some generally good trends, but we're expecting, the HWRF is expecting a compact, powerful storm to form within the next day or so. So around this time, in a day, about a day's time from now, we're looking at a pretty solid cyclone here. In kilometers an hour, that would be about 105, 110 kilometers an hour if this were to turn out, which is a fair bit faster than what we're currently anticipating. But, someone asked if it's realistic that this could get as strong as anticipated on the HWRF model, which shows a 150 mile an hour storm, or 215 kilometers per hour, which is well into Category 5 Australian scale range. Is this possible? I'm not going to rule it out, but I think it's unlikely that it gets this strong at this point. We currently have a very low chance, I believe it's a 1% chance, of this getting to Category 5 Australian. So very unlikely, but I'm not going to rule it out completely. I think that this is a bit too aggressive at this point. So I think Category 4 Australian, Category 3 Saffir-Simpson is the safest bet at this point for the storm. We'll just have to see what happens there.
Perhaps we could come back to this in 48 hours.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. In 48 hours' time, we're going to have a lot more certainty on what exactly is going on with this storm. And that'll be very, very helpful.
I think the other tropical low, Thomas, is what, 24U?
24U? Do we have 24U at this point?
Or it's a 23U.
We have 23U. That's the one next to Seroja. Is that?
So 23.
Yeah, 23U. You want to go over what's going on with that? Because I know the Bureau now expects it to become a Category 1. So...
Yes.
So that's interesting.
Let's see. Okay, tropical low 23U lies well to the south of Christmas Island, remaining slow moving today. From late Thursday, it is possible for the low to strengthen to tropical cyclone intensity and start moving towards the east. With the tropical cyclone Seroja approaching from the northeast, the interaction between these two systems is likely to limit development of the tropical low. There is the risk of a period of strong winds, rain associated with this system across the northwest, and this is a key point, the northwest corner of the state over the weekend. So it's going to come in behind Seroja.
Yeah, it will. And we can actually see, I can pull up a weather model here so we can actually see what's going on there. Again, I'm going to pull up the GFS just because I think it best illustrates this. But we have Seroja and we have our other system off the screen here. That's 23U, and we can see them both interacting here. So we have Seroja, which is strengthening at this point, and we have 23U getting catapulted around by Seroja. So it's just getting completely catapulted. But what you'll watch happen here is that the interaction will have this system ram right in to Western Australia. So it's going to be weaker. Strong winds aren't going to be a huge concern with 23U, but you're going to still get some heavy rainfall and some higher surf from that. So still definitely a concern, and rainfall from 23U will extend all the way down through the entirety of the western coast of Australia, and then we'll have rather strong Seroja coming in right behind it, and then slamming into Australia there. But it looks like, David, the interaction is going to be so strong that Saroj is actually going to fling 23U into the coast of Australia before it hits. So it looks like it's actually going to drag 23U in front of it, which is interesting to see.
Thomas, have you seen this sort of scenario situation seen before? I know you're over there in the States, but I'm just wondering, have you seen this sort of activity where it's slingshotted, or the slingshot in, and what happens? Does it make it a lot stronger? Reforce onto the land?
Well, what I've seen these kinds of interactions happen before. It's very rare to see them impact land like this, and I don't think I've ever seen an interaction like this in the Australian region. But when you have two storms, one of them will become dominant, so you'll have two storms dominating over one another. For example, Hurricanes Matthew and Nicole in the Atlantic Basin, for those of us up in North America, is a decent example of this. They're a bit farther apart, but Matthew prevented the development of Nicole. As soon as Matthew died away, Nicole exploded. But before that, Matthew was suppressing Nicole, and Matthew actually became quite strong while doing that. In this case, what's going to happen is 23U is going to be suppressed by Seroja, and Seroja is going to just soak in all of that environment. So this isn't going to make Seroja stronger. I don't think it's going to inhibit it too much. It could inhibit it a little bit, but I don't see 23U inhibiting Seroja too much. And I could see 23U. I don't see 23U getting all that much stronger either. I see it just getting slingshotted into Western Australia and producing rain down the coast.
And we have the third system to the northwest of the Cocos-Keeling Islands, and I've just got to look at the western region for 23U. They have it moderate. Then tropical low 24U may form well to the northwest of the Cocos-Keeling Islands later yesterday. This is Tuesday, so it'll be interesting to see what the BI says this afternoon. Or on Wednesday, moving east or southeast. It is a low risk of developing into a tropical cyclone for Wednesday, but it's not likely to enter the western region before Friday. And the BI has percentages remaining very low, and on Friday it goes to low.
Yeah, and we can see that right here. So someone asking what website this is. This is called Tropical Tidbits. It's a great website, tropicaltidbits.com. But this is a weather model called the GFS, or the Global Forecast System. We like to use it around here. Personally, I find it to be one of the better models that we have. But we can see this. This is the area that David was just talking about. You can see India there, Australia here, but this is right about now, and this is about a day from now. So about a day from now, this low continues. It's at 1,004 millibars, and we continue to see decent formation of it. I'm fairly confident that we're going to see something out of this. This is on Sunday. This will be around 10 a.m. on Sunday for you folks in Australia, but you can see here rather clearly. 998 millibars, this would be a tropical low that has formed and is moving into the Australian region. And this is something that we're going to have to watch along range, folks. We can see it rather clearly here, taking the turn. But GFS, not expecting it to be overly strong. This would be a Category 1 Australian scale storm. And in this particular run, it's not hitting land. But don't take that too... I wouldn't take this literally. I would say to look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is that we're going to have a system somewhere within this region over the weekend form. And this could impact Western Australia long term. We just don't know yet. But I'd say a Category 1, at least, Australian scale system, somewhere within this rather large region I've drawn, is a fairly high confidence thing at this point.
And Thomas, I have news for you. We now have 91S.
Yeah, there we go. That's 91S. That is that system there that you were just talking about, David, the one that the Bureau is monitoring to become a tropical low. We can actually take a look at the information that's been given on that. So it's at 8.9 south, 90.7 east, with maximum winds of 20 knots. So
Yes.
that's the maximum wind speeds right now, which would be, let me just check real quick, that'd be about 35 kilometers per hour. For those of you over in Australia. So not overly strong, but you can see a decent plume of thunderstorms there, those yellows and oranges showing a plume of storms with this. This is well out to sea right now, but we can take a look at weather models, and all these lines are just different areas where it could go. Don't worry about the different colors here. We're so far out that doesn't really matter. But just take a look at where the general expectation is, bigger picture. And the bigger picture is that we're going to see this, we have this rather large swath of potential for where the storm could go. So rather large area that this storm could be in within the next few days. And again, you can see a few of those models bringing it in to the Australian coast. So this could impact land here, with the main threats, I would think, being heavy rainfall, some higher surf. We don't really know about wind speeds just yet, but regardless of that, it's very important to be aware that this could develop. Back to Seroja here, I would like to just go over that forecast again for anyone that's just joining us. Force 13 is anticipating a Category 4 Australian scale, 165 km per hour, or 115 mile per hour, Category 3 Saffir-Simpson scale system, at peak out of Seroja, moving into Australia here. And our landfall point, we're expecting it around Geraldton. So if you're around Geraldton, Cabalm, even Perth, Carnarvon, Denham, if you're in any of those areas, you could be in the direct zone of landfall with this thing. We'll just have to see what exactly happens there. But this could be a rather dangerous situation. And Force 13, we do our best with these forecasts, and this is an uncertain situation. Something that has surprised us a bit, Joint Typhoon Warning Center has actually gone higher than us at 105 knots. Still a Category 3 Saffir-Simpson, 175 kilometers per hour. So Joint Typhoon Warning Center has actually gone a little higher than us over here at Force 13. Regardless of that, Category 3 or 4 landfall is the expectation in Australia. We're anticipating a 120 kilometer per hour Category 3 landfall right now in Australia. So a pretty dangerous situation to unfold, to say the least. And with that, I think that the general expectation can be strong winds, high surf, significant storm surge, over 3 meters of storm surge or a possibility with this. We'll just have to see just how high that could get. But this is very, very, very dangerous, to say the very least. And David, I think you'd agree with that as well, that this could be a very dangerous storm for the Australian coast.
Yes, and I was thinking about the current wave height the Joint Typhoon Warning Centre has it at 21 feet, so storm surge is going to be a key component. And the Bureau of Meteorology has a gale warning in for the Leeuwin case, so they've actually upgraded one, the strong wind warning for the Bunbury, Geography and Albany coast. The Albany coast, I think, is south of Perth. So they've got a gale warning, strong wind warning in place, and Seroja, there is a storm of force wind warning in place. I also monitor the Bureau's high seas forecast service, because that gives a 12-hourly look.
Yeah, and that can be very insightful and valuable.
If the viewers haven't got any other questions on the 3 systems to Australia's west, we, considering the time, and we can come back to this, we have a developing scene over in the Vanuatu, Fiji, Solomon Islands region.
That we do, and we can take a closer look at that. So this is in the southwestern Pacific. There is a large region of low pressure here near the Solomon Islands right now, and this is expected to develop, at least I'm expecting it at this point, to develop into some sort of tropical entity, some sort of tropical cyclone as it gets close to New Caledonia. So I'd say if you're in New Caledonia, if you're in the southern portions of Vanuatu or New Caledonia, you need to be watching this rather closely. Now, the GFS, which is the model that we're looking at again, and again, don't take this verbatim, but this is just an idea of what we're looking at. This is about 10 a.m. on Saturday, Australian time, and we have a solid tropical storm there in heading towards New Caledonia, and this becomes a pretty decent system here. I'd say it's a Category 1 or 2 Australian system, just narrowly missing New Caledonia on that model run, but given how far out this is, this could give New Caledonia a direct hit. This could even move into Vanuatu, but a potent cyclone could form out of this and move southward, and then behind that, there's another area here that could form. Now, this one doesn't look as strong. This one doesn't look as potent right now, and this is long range. We're at about 3-4 p.m. on Monday at this point. But you can see here this secondary region. This is another thing that we're going to be watching with time here that could move southward as well.
And Thomas, I hate to break in, but Mateo, France, New Caledonia now has it up on its forecasts.
There we go. Yeah, and I'm not surprised. And we actually do have chances of formation. A tropical weather outlook came out earlier tonight on the Force 13 main channel, and we even have one on the AU Twitter. If you go to our AU Twitter handle, you can actually see those areas of interest there, and you can see our chances of formation for both of them. We have a 50-50 shot right now of this system that we're currently monitoring developing. I think it could be a little higher than that. And we have a 10% shot of the system behind it developing. Again, that one's looking significantly weaker, but that could also develop. So 50-50 shot of the first one. And again, that could go up with time. And we have a 10% chance of the one behind it developing. We do have a question here. When Seroja begins to rapidly intensify, what would the interaction with 23U do to it? It could slow it down some. I think it could slow it down just a little bit. But I think really it's going to be more of Seroja tearing 23U apart as it intensifies, just becoming the overwhelmingly dominant system here. So that's my expectation. David, do you see any reason to disagree with that?
No, what I was thinking about is just a rough idea of how far the two systems are apart.
Yeah, I can get you a distance here real quick.
And whilst you're doing that, Mateo, France, New Caledonia, conditions become favourable for the development of a tropical depression in the Coral Sea from Friday. The risk of a moderate tropical depression deepening in this area next weekend is increasing and it's becoming moderate. So Mateo and over New Caledonia, deterioration of the weather to watch for next weekend because the potential moderate tropical depression could develop near the territory. So Mateo, France, New Caledonia is now on board. And I'll just have a look to see what Vanuatu is saying. And viewers, Fiji has it up on its service chart. They have central pressure around 1,004 millibars.
And there we go. I found the distance now. There's actually a line. I have it right on my screen, so the viewers can see this as well. This is about 1,300 kilometers apart, these two systems. 1,305 kilometers apart to be exact is how far apart these two centers are from one another. These two systems are actually looking fairly similar in strength right now on satellite appearance, and are both in an environment where either one could become dominant. But again, the expectation here is that Seroja will become the dominant of the two. We'll just have to see what exactly happens, and we'll see what comes out of it. But definitely an interesting development, to say the very least.
What would the percentages be for the tropical A to become the dominant?
I give
We say impossible?
It's not impossible, I don't think. I'd give it about a 20% shot of happening.
And
Go on.
Thomas, I was just going to say Vanuatu 2 has it up on its service chart.
Yeah.
And Cyclone Genesis is actually increasing. I posted that.
I see that. Let's pull up this chart that you just sent. This is the one with the orange bubble. Is that the Mateo France, or is that the Vanuatu one?
The first one in yellow or orange is Mateo France.
All right, there it is. Yeah, so you can see the Mateo France area. And they have a medium chance for this one.
Yeah.
So...
And I'll post the Cyclone Genesis is the next one. No, sorry, the one above it.
And we can pull that one up as well, but there's the Genesis. Yeah, so we can see there that small area where the Cyclone Genesis increases as well. So that's definitely an area to watch. And you can also see that little Western Pacific blip. We'll probably talk about that more on Force 13 Maine and Force 13 Philippines as that flares up. But tonight we're going to focus on what's there near the Solomon Islands. Yeah, there's that little blip for the possibility of a storm. And then finally, here is the low marked on Vanuatu's site. And you can see that's that 1008 that's expected to go southward with time. And that could definitely develop moving south. It's in the conditions to do it. And again, the global forecast model that I like to look at, showing a rather potent system that could potentially strike New Caledonia. And again, very high uncertainty at this point. So if you're in Vanuatu, New Caledonia, Solomon Islands, you need to be watching this closely. Solomon Islands, you got to watch for flooding. If you're in Vanuatu or New Caledonia, you got to be watching for both the threats of flooding. You need to watch for storm surge and the wind threat with this as well. So that's what we're looking at. Someone asking, why did the basin get so active? What were you going to say, David?
You answer that one. I'm just going to look at the Solomon Islands information. But Maxwell, a good question, mate.
Yeah, so the reason for the giant increase in activity is because of there are these phases that move across the planet. It's called the Madden-Julian Oscillation, or the MJO, and that sounds like a big and complicated thing, but in most basic terms, it is this global cycle. It is this thing that goes around the Earth, and it shows basically the lower the value or the deeper the blues into the pinks you get on this chart, the more lift there is, the more enhancement there is in the environment for storms. And as you move into the reds and the browns, over on the other side, the positive values, that's where you have sinking air, or air that doesn't promote thunderstorm development. So we had a lot of sinking air. We had these reds and browns over the Australian region for a while. But now, as you can see, we have these blues and pinks and bright pinks in the Australian region, which show exceptionally favorable conditions for storms to bubble up. So we've gone from an environment where the air was generally sinking to an environment where the air is generally rising. And as a result of that, we're starting to see significantly more activity in the Australian region. So that's what I got for that question. I hope that answered it well.
Would the La Nina suppress that?
The La Nina shouldn't suppress that oscillation or the magnitude of the rising and sinking air, but I think that the La Nina has something to do with the fact that we've had less activity this year in the Australian region in the month of March. I think that the inactivity in the month of March can definitely be blamed on that La Nina. I think if we were in an El Nino, which is a phase in the equatorial Pacific, we would definitely be seeing more activity. And for those that are new to this sort of thing, I do want to explain what the El Nino and La Nina are. So in the equatorial Pacific, which is just a region of the Pacific Ocean, I'll pull it up here for you. It's this region in the Pacific Ocean here. This is where we measure an El Nino and a La Nina. And so all that it is if this region has generally below average temperatures, it's known as a La Nina. And if it has generally above average temperatures, it's known as an El Nino. The reason this is important is because what happens here influences the rest of the planet in terms of the jet stream and what the jet stream does. So La Ninas tend to favor the Atlantic basin and not favor the Pacific basin. And the Indian Ocean tends to, it doesn't seem like it has a huge correlation, but I think it's mildly favored in a La Nina sort of situation. I don't know with that, but what I do know is that the Atlantic is favored in a La Nina setup. It is not favored in El Nino, and the Pacific is favored in an El Nino setup. So the La Nina can suppress cyclone activity in the Australian region.
The Solomon Islands Meteorological Service has issued a update to their heavy rain warning. Trough lines over the Solomon Islands, associated cloud heavy rain with thunderstorms expected to affect most provinces and islands. Such localised heavy rain may lead to possible landslide, flash flooding over the communities living near hill slopes close to large river streams and low-lying areas, and they're also advising sea travellers not to go out, and motorists are also advised to use extreme caution. So heavy rain warning is in place for the Solomon Islands.
Yeah, absolutely. We do also have an update on what's going on with the devastating impacts that Seroja brought to Indonesia. So I do want to bring that up real quick. Over 150 people now, unfortunately, we have found have died as a result of this. So devastating information that's being shown out of there. Over 150 people dead now from what's gone on in Indonesia and Eastern Timor. So absolutely devastating, and our hearts go out to those people, as that was just some devastating flooding that Seroja brought there. And now Seroja's headed for Australia. The flooding threat I don't think is going to be quite as high for Australia. I think the big thing for Australia is going to be that storm surge. I think the storm surge could be quite high with this storm because it's going to be big as it moves into Western Australia. And again, over 3 meters is the current expectation from us over here at Force 13. So we'll see what pans out from that. But definitely a dangerous situation, to say the very least. We have 10 minutes left here on the stream before we're going to be getting going for now. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything of that nature, please feel free to ask us, and we'll be more than glad to answer them. We are here to get the information to you that you need to stay safe. So again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything of that nature, David and I are happy to answer those. That's why we're here. That's why we do what we do.
I'm just going to get the Bureau's total forecast of rain, and Thomas, you might be able to bring that up on the screen so we can see what is coming. And as soon as I find it, it's here somewhere, but the scene is hotting up, and people need to prepare over there in WA. And Thomas, there it is for you, mate.
There we go, and we can take a look at that. And that's the total rainfall forecast expectations over the next few days, correct?
There's 8 days.
Next 8 days. And we can see there that rather wide swath of over 25 millimeters there. And you can even see there a larger swath, 25 to 50, there in southern Australia. So significant rainfall could occur from this, and if this nudges closer to the coast, I mean, we're seeing just offshore some 50 to 100, even 100 to 150 millimeter contours there, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these forecasted totals go up. But definitely there you can see generally what we need to be watching over the next few days.
And that is going to curve in. That blue and pink purple, or purple pink, the intensity scale is the right hand side of the screen, and that's just going to track in on the coast.
Yeah. So that's certainly a concern, and flooding is always a concern with these kinds of systems, and it's something that I don't feel like the press talks about enough. But I mean, that's what just happened in Indonesia. That's what just caused all those fatalities, was flooding. So it's no joke. Flooding is one of the biggest causes of death in tropical cyclones, in storms in general. Flooding is one of the biggest causes of fatalities, just because I don't think we talk about them enough. When we have, big hurricanes coming in, big tornadoes, things like that, there's coverage on it. People know about them. With flooding, it's not a huge deal to the press sometimes, and I think that that gets overlooked. So I'm really glad you brought that up, David, that Bureau of Meteorology graphic, because I think that's really important for people to see where the rainfall is expected to be.
And the Bureau, that's the total forecast, which is updated 24 hourly, and the Bureau has the 12-hour information. But if we were to look at the pivotal weather website's GFS model run, which I normally show in my video updates during the automated stream, but it's something that can't be ignored. I think the Western Australia government will start to issue its normal responses, but the threat is there.
Yeah, and
Category 3, what, landfall?
Yeah, Category 3, 120 kilometers per hour. That's Force 13's current forecast for it. So that's what we're looking at. I do have that pivotal weather graphic you were talking about pulled up, so we can actually look at the GFS run throughout time here. So this is right about now. This is about 10 a.m. Here on this wonderful Wednesday. So you can see here about 10 a.m. Western Australian time, the swath of rain, and we can continue to take a look. This is going to be at about 10 a.m. Thursday, and then this is 10 a.m. Friday. So this is just off the coast here. This is total accumulations, and you can see there over 100 millimeters of rain accumulating in solid areas there. So as we get to here we go at 10 a.m. on Saturday, and at 10 a.m. on Saturday, I mean, we've got areas just offshore of over 300, and we've got a fair bit coming on shore here. So and then we continue to actually watch this evolve, and that's still a rather intense core of rain approaching shore, and this is around 4 p.m. on Sunday. And we have this thing just off the coast, and as it hits land, I mean, we're seeing significant areas of over 70 millimeters of rain here. And this is around 10 a.m. on Monday when we really see these accumulations go up. So this will be out of here by around here on Monday, this is about 12Z on Monday, so that would be about 10 p.m. That'd be around 7 to 10 p.m. there, Australian time. And you can see there, again, that significant swath of rain that's been expected as a result of Seroja there. So definitely something that we're going to be keeping an eye on. But the flooding is definitely a threat, and we can also take a look at those wind speeds as well and just get a really good idea of what exactly the storm's going to do over there in Australia. But as we continue to watch, you can see there that rather large swath of winds that forms there as we get all the way down to the 950s in pressure. But, I mean, those are some pretty decent wind speeds there. Getting over 90 knots, and then again we can time it out with the storm. It looks like making landfall there. If we take a look at this is about 10 p.m. In Australia. That the storm makes landfall on Sunday. So 10 p.m. Sunday looks like it could be when the storm does make landfall ultimately. So that's definitely a concern. And then you can see the other storm as well. The one there near New Caledonia, Vanuatu, that passes. And the one right behind that too. So we can really see all the activity that we're expecting. But I think that's a good way to round things off here as we are approaching the end of the hour. We will pull up the overview that we have posted here for tonight just to close things off. But this is our overview here. We have 23U, which is going to get slingshotted around, catapulted into Western Australia, produce some rain. We have Seroja, which is going to move south and slam into Australia here, probably making landfall at some point on Sunday. Late Saturday night at the very earliest, and late Sunday, maybe even into Monday at the latest. So that's what we're looking at for Seroja. And then we have two possible areas of formation out there near New Caledonia. And then just off the screen here, we have 91S, which is going to be moving into the Australian region with time here as well. So we have all those things to worry about. David, what would be your final thoughts for the viewers here?
Continue to monitor the AU channel. The main channel will activate closer to landfall, but it's not good looking at the precipitation for the Vanuatu, Solomon Islands region already under a flood warning. New Caledonia, they're on board, and round 2 for the region. But when you look at that amount of yellow, and a couple of weeks ago it was just completely yellow. I've actually dodged a bit of a bullet, but we have had some impressive rainfall totals. One equals 1974, and the other one, I think it's autumn, not seen for 32 years. But sadly, some of the outer metropolitan areas, dams are now overflowing. Our main one here in Brisbane is only 37% capacity, and I just want to see some more decent rainfall before the end of the month. But if it's flooded, forget it, and you've got to prepare.
Absolutely. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching this live stream. It has been a pleasure to be with you tonight. And again, we're going to continue to produce these live streams. And again, these could go onto the main channel as the event draws closer. But we're definitely going to be doing more streams. And if we don't do streams, we'll definitely be posting video updates here as Seroja continues to approach land. So we might be making the transition to video updates soon. We'll see. That template is in the works. But that's what we plan to do in the future. So, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so that way you can see all future content that we post here. You don't miss anything when it comes to being in the loop about the weather. We also post graphics just like the one you see on your screen on social media every night where there's some sort of area of interest in the Australian region, even if it's far away. If it's within the Australian region, we make a graphic like this, letting you know that it's there, so you get to see that on our Twitter feed. So you can go follow us over there. We post cones, we post forecasts, we post all kinds of stuff over there to keep you up to date outside of things like these streams. And yeah, with that being said, again, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you here at around this time tomorrow night. And stay safe, everyone.